Okay, and the podcast serves as a vessel to bridge the gap between human isolation and connection. We are all going through something. However, what happens when we start sharing our stories? We will be able to connect, heal, and grow. Come with me and my guests on a journey that will uncover their okay and moment. I'm your host, Just Jess. Let's get started. Good morning, good evening, whenever you're listening to this podcast. I'm your host, Just Jess. Welcome to Okay and the podcast, where we are bridging the gap between human isolation and connection. And my guest today has known me my entire life. When I was a fetus inside of her belly during prom night. Oh my, was it prom? Was it prom, Mom?
Yes.
It was?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
So during prom, okay, shout out to 1988.
88.
Yes, I was in there.
Yes.
I was
He
moving.
was in there.
Where was I
You
conceived?
very much.
Where was I conceived?
Really?
What was it? Where was it? The beach? Is that why I like the beach so much?
Could be.
Ah! Are you serious? Wait, really?
When I go back, yes.
Mommy. Oh, I knew I had a connection to the water. Okay, girl.
There it is.
Anywho, do you want to introduce
There it
yourself?
is.
This is like the second time that you've been on the podcast, but
What an opening.
no, it's a great opening.
Hello, everyone. Hello. My name is Colette. I am mother of Jess. And I'm so happy to be here. So proud of her and all that she's doing with this podcast. And I am so excited to be back.
Well, welcome back, mother of Coco, leader of the tribe. There's a lot of us.
Five. Yes.
And I feel like we've been celebrating for quite some time. Vivica turned 21. Layla graduated high school. Stephen is kicking butt doing mechanical engineering and building robotic stuff at Fresno. And Anthony is building video games. So what are you about to do now with everybody? What you doing?
Well, I'm going to be preparing everyone for my new chapter. I've been mom forever. And so it's good to prepare you all for the fact that, I did have a life before you. Yes, I am your mother, will always be your mother, will always be there, when you guys need me. But it is time for me to have a new chapter in my life. So I want to prepare you guys for that because it's not something that you have seen before, been familiar with before. So I'm looking forward to it. Looking forward to that new chapter.
When you think of the new chapter, and I mean, I love my siblings, but I'm first, so I've been there. And we were talking about this a couple of months ago I think you saw a TikTok and it was explaining how you grow up with your kids.
Right.
Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So for you and I, it's a different relationship because I was much younger, just coming out of high school, graduated in June of 88, had you in August of 88. So do the math, guys. And so, so we did grow up together, after graduation and just young adulthood and all of that. And being not thrown into, but developing from high school to motherhood to adult, that quick, in a blink of an eye. You just grow up together. You learn from each other. Much different than your siblings, as I, had other pregnancies and had other kids. That's different. Right. But for you in particular, it was me and you against the world there. We were just like, Bonnie and Clyde there. So learning from each other, growing up, and also the relationship we have now as adults, has helped me. I try to help you as much as you can, but you have also helped me be okay with the fact that, I can go and have a new chapter and be okay with it and not feel guilty or feel like I'm less of a mom or anything. I can just go and do what I can do at 53. Yeah. And so that's a different relationship than your siblings, just because of the age gap and things like that.
Yeah. So when it comes down to your new chapter, I'm I'm really excited. I'm like in party planning mode. I'm thinking about crushed velvet invitations with we're gonna have a chef. Might be Mari, might not be. I don't know. But we're gonna have somebody in there about to prepare a 7 course meal. I want like a dance, a floor, a disco light just to take it back. And I want you in like a satin silk, purple off the shoulders. The goodies are up and creased like Janet Jackson, just walking and waltzing and just all the things. Like I just see this vision for you to be on that other side. So talk to us about what do you mean by new chapter,
Mhm.
and what are what was your okay and moment to get to this point?
I think it was my oh, first of all, my okay and moment was realizing that it's okay to branch out. It's okay to acknowledge the fact when you're not happy with something and it's been a long time of not happy. It's
Yeah.
not like an instant thing or it's like one argument or something like that. It is a string of years that have gone on,
Mm-hmm.
more than 10 years at least, um, of not being happy, not having peace, realizing that you have lost your identity. And that is the biggest thing. You as individuals should never lose your identity.
Yeah.
I don't care what kind of relationship you're in, marriage, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, you should never lose your identity. You're bringing that to the table. That should be a merge of identities, between your significant other, not you losing it and get swallowed up.
Mm.
And you don't realize it's swallowed up at the time it's happening, um, until much later on when you kind of sit back and look at it.
Give me an example.
Okay, so just because dinners
Yeah.
with grandma and
Yeah.
grandpa Garland, which I
Yeah.
love and I miss to my heart right now. It
Yeah.
wasn't about, oh, here's a holiday. We knew those are happening. I'm talking about just because it's Friday and we about to have some fish.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It's the
Yep.
just because dinners I'm talking about. Um, those were beautiful. Those were wonderful. But I lost my identity in those dinners and in those functions because you guys have no idea about your other aunts or your other uncles on my side of the family.
Yeah.
And so it's like, wow. And you don't realize that until after the fact. It's like, okay, we've gone through all these years. People are now almost all of y'all are going to be 20 coming up or older,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't know that side of the family.
Yeah.
And I didn't bring that side in where it should be a merging of two. So it's those kind of moments when you look back now and it's like, okay, they have absolutely no idea that they have another side of the family, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and that should never be. It should always be, a little bit of both. You're familiar with both sides of the family and things like that. So I think those were my okay and moments like, okay, now I got to fix it. You know,
Mm-hmm.
God willing, he gives me as much time as possible on this earth, but I need to bring that piece into full circle. And unfortunately, it's going to be a new piece because it wasn't like your Uncle Tony. You guys were babies.
Right.
Stephen was a baby. The other three were not even there yet. So that's how long it's been. Um, I'm sorry, I thought I had a quiet spot.
No, you're fine.
but
You're good.
but yeah, so those kind of things I have realized that those things need to happen, because it's important, for you guys to know my background, my history, my family history, which is also part of yours for family history, not one-sided. It needs to be all together. Every piece of it needs to come together so that
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. So when you think of knowing that, and that's a good example because we talked about it, but I think for me, I want to get to know people. I want to understand, family roots because I didn't know that we had family in Chicago. I didn't know parts of the Midwest, and I'm traveling from, I travel often for work and I would love to stop by and just say, hey, or but I'm 35. Oh, mommy, did you know this is our year of opposite age? That's so random, but did you know that?
Oh, it is. Yes, it
Like
is.
35 and 53. Oh my goodness. Okay, sorry. Sidetrack. Um, but just knowing that we have, we have family in parts of Texas, we have family in North Carolina. I remember being in Atlanta, and when I think it was somebody's hurricane was coming our way, and that's when
Mhm.
Michelle and Ari came to me. Shout out to them. And then the next stop, we were like, all right, if the hurricane comes to Atlanta, you said Uncle Tony lives in North Carolina, drive to North Carolina. And I'm like, wait a minute, Uncle Tony's in North Carolina? Pause, full time out. What are we doing? So I appreciate that acknowledgement and that self-aware. And I do miss, the just because dinners, because with uh Grandma Garland and Grandpa Garland, it was that unity, that community that kept going until they transitioned.
Mhm.
So when it comes down to and you talked about identity, so what were some examples outside of that where you felt like you've lost yourself?
Um, Definitely losing contact with friends.
Mhm.
Friends, very, very close friends of mine. Those that I have maybe have known since preschool.
Yeah.
Forget kindergarten, just preschool. Apple Tree. Shout out to Apple Tree, Riverside, California. But whoop, whoop. But those connections were lost.
Hmm.
Um, your godmom, Summer, we lost connection for multiple years, and it was only through a mutual contact that we got back connected. And then she came up for your graduation, as a matter of fact, when we had the little barbecue thing
Oh, high school
in the
graduation.
backyard
Yeah, yeah.
with the high school with the a pool in the back.
Cool.
And when she came, and I hadn't seen her in almost 10, 15 years. It's those connections that I have lost along the way. Family connections have lost along the way. I just got connected with a cousin that I didn't even know,
Yeah.
didn't even realize it. And she did her research and found me on Facebook or Instagram, one of them.
Hmm.
And we got connected. We've been talking, dealing with some family property that, yeah, I didn't know what had happened to it,
Right.
so those kind of things. And being able to reconnect with family and friends that I have lost, along the way. Again, part of your identity is your family,
Hmm.
and bringing that to your kids. You bring your history to your kids, and losing that, um, it's just weird. It's just weird because you realize when you sit back and you look, it's like, I have not talked to these people in 10 years, 20 years. I was in high school last time I talked to them. So I try to make it a point of, especially for my brother and my sister, your aunt and your uncle, to be able to, talk with them at least once a week, if not more than that, just to keep that connection, because family is so spread out. So I don't really have a whole lot of family here,
Right.
here in California anymore. A lot of it's back east and all that. So those were moments where I just said, I can't do that. I'm too old to be doing that. You guys need to have some connection of, my side of history, and so you have that. You have that other backbone, the other piece to the circle. You know.
How do you think, if Grandma Shirley Smith was still here, and we know that she is here, how do
Mhm.
you think she would respond to your new chapter?
I think she would be happy. I think your grandma Shirley Smith is very outspoken. I think the older she got,
Hmm.
because she went through the same exact thing, as soon as she transitioned into that new chapter,
Hmm.
it was on. I mean, she would not hold back. I mean, she didn't hold back anyway, but she would say some stuff. It's like, look, no, you know, and voice her opinion and whatever, and enjoy her fact that she could do it, and all of that. And you guys coming over and stuff like that. So I think that she would understand um, where my thought process is on that.
Hmm.
And it's not to jump from one to the other. It's me having a peace of mind,
Yeah.
and me being able to get back healthy and make sure that I'm good, and I want to be around for you kids and all that stuff, where the stress level is just, it takes a toll mentally and physically.
Hmm.
And so I know what I need to do to fix that.
I think where it's easier said than done, right? I think where people coming to that okay and moment of leaving, of understanding what, weighing out your pros and your cons and your risk factors, what are some of those elements that you've done to say, all right, this is it?
Getting a quiet space for sure, because and that's very hard. You know how the household is. So
Yes.
I'm trying to find woo, trying to find a quiet space and just think. Even if it looks like you're just kind of staring off into the distance, grab
Mm-hmm.
you a piece of paper and a pen and
Mm-hmm.
just write. Just write. Whatever the random thought is, not to even connect. Just write down where you're at in your place in your head about things. Um, and so what I do is when I write them, they don't connect. So I'll write something on one piece of paper, and then I'll jump to a completely different piece of paper about
Mm-hmm.
another random thought that I'm making a list on and things like that. What are the pros and cons? For me, what's the pros and cons for you guys? And then I have to think, okay, it is not just me. It is all of you guys, all of the kids that are being affected. Um, but is it the end of the world? No,
Yeah.
it's not the end of the world. It's not the first and it's not the last time that it will happen. But I'm looking at the big picture of how the peace of mind will come across everybody.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's what I'm really actually and now excited about that piece. And it's never going to be a disrespect. I never want you guys to be disrespectful to that other person. It is about peace of mind and enjoying the rest of our lives, God willing, as long as He'll keep us on this earth.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm at now because I'm thinking about, I'm already thinking about retirement. I've
Mm-hmm.
been at that
Mm-hmm.
same job for 25 plus years. So again, that's another chapter of my life. All these businesses that we're cultivating and having fun with,
Yeah.
another chapter of the life, and just being able to be um, in control of my peace. And so that's what I'm looking forward to. That's what I'm gearing towards first and foremost. Um, and then whatever comes along after that. But right now, I need my own peace. I need my own peace. I need to make sure that other people have peace as well.
When it comes down to having the conversation with my siblings and knowing that the stress levels are all over the place,
Mhm.
I think everybody's in agreement. I don't think anybody will show, disrespect or anything like that. And just from where I can use the word consistent with you, you've never put the other people in a bad light. It was always the direct contact that person had. For example, Eric Travis McCoy, right? So with you never said anything bad about him. You told me, if you want to have a relationship with your father, by all means do so. But I felt that at the time I was so young and naive, I allowed myself, I didn't have the vocabulary to understand what he was going through and still try to have a relationship with him. I was just angry, upset, I didn't have the understanding, and I didn't have the patience for building that relationship. And I think now
Mhm.
with this chapter, it's understanding that I have to create boundaries for me, and I have to speak up for me. And it hurts really, really, it hurts so much because I feel like I don't have a dad now living and dead. And I know that's not the case. I just know that there's this really big anger and something that I want to work on, and something that I know that maybe later on down the line, but that other person has to truly have professional help. Like I cannot go into another conversation with that. I know my other siblings are not there, right? They're like, hey, mom, we want mom to be good. Like it's good, right? But just
Mhm.
having that, I know that you have that consistency. So it's going to be up to them to really pick up and say, like, I want a relationship with everybody.
Right, 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 right.
So switching gears and thinking about, who is Colette, and if you were to, now look at yourself and think of the little girl that was, 7 or 8, like what advice would you give her? What would you say to Colette or Coco?
Wow. um 7 or 8 was a really tough time. It was a really it was a tough time. Your grandfather was abusive, mentally and physically and the whole bit. So it was a very tough time during that particular age range there. So being able to survive that and still push forward,
Mm-hmm.
it was prayer. I mean, I know it sounds crazy, but that it was prayer. It was in
That's
my
not
room.
crazy at all. That's not crazy at
That
all.
was it was in my room praying, um, praying to God that He could get me through this,
Yeah.
and praying to God that um, your grandfather won't come in and beat the shit out of me. Excuse my language, for whatever whim or whatever he was going through.
Mm-hmm.
Um, when we got older and Grandma Shirley finally decided that she was strong enough to leave, it was the most amazing thing. I mean, literally, it was. I had stuff in the back of the car. I went to North High School. I called her that afternoon. She's like, "Do I go? No, come back home." The next day, I did it again. She's like, "No, the apartment's ready. Come down the street." And we literally live behind the high school I went to. Um, and
What was
so
Norma Shirley's like okay amp like for her to pack up the car and leave, like, do you know?
I don't know what finally, because there was so much history with your grandmother and your grandfather too. It
Right.
wasn't like they just been married for years. They've been married for 20 plus some odd years, and I think she just got fed up. Only she knows when her point was,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
at her point. And I think it came from um things that happened between uh your grandfather and me.
Yeah.
And I think that was her turning point, where she's just like, that's it. And literally, I mean, and I know she was probably working on this. She had to been working on this without saying anything,
Mm-hmm.
because literally it
It
was
was
one day
instant.
calling, no, come home.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
then the next day she was like, no, come down the street, the apartment's ready. So obviously she had put all these pieces together, prior to.
Right.
But it was like, okay. But literally all my stuff was in the back of the car. My little Buick Regal, 77
Mm-hmm.
Buick Regal. And and I went from practice. I had flag practice after school to going literally down the street from the high school, and we lived right there, off of Cranford and Riverside. So it was like, I know what her I from what my involvement was. I know what her aha moment was.
Yeah.
I'm sure there was others,
Mm-hmm.
where they just kind of all came together, and then it was finally like, boom, that's it, we're done. So I think if to back to your original question, if Grandma Shirley Smith was still here, she would totally understand um, where I'm coming from.
Yeah.
Uh, she probably would have been like, "What's taking you so long?" That kind of thing. But you know, wrong with you, But yeah, I think she would totally understand where I'm coming from, and I do wish I had the opportunity to have this conversation with her,
Mm-hmm.
but I know she understands.
Yeah.
She most definitely understands where I'm coming from. So
Yeah. Yeah. I think I think the what took you so long would have probably been the first part of the
ooh,
conversation.
that would came, that would have came out.
So I completely understand that. So thinking about, next steps, best practices, advice,
Mhm.
and I love the fact that you were able to break down, go to a quiet space. Um, how do you think COVID played into your quiet space?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think COVID, having it twice, but having it that
Mhm.
first time, when it was still relatively new, there's no vaccines out, the whole everything. I'm laying all in the den for 8 weeks or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Gave me a lot of time to think, a lot of time to pray, a lot of time to say, okay, what is really going on here outside of me laying here trying to breathe? What is really going on in my life and things like that. Um, so it gave me an opportunity. Can I say that God put COVID on me so I can sit my butt down and think about stuff?
Let me tell you
Possibly,
something. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
possibly. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But whatever, he gave me a chance, an opportunity to sit and think and focus on, especially at night.
Yeah.
Cut the lights off and everything. I got the fan like right here because I can't get enough air in my lungs. But it gave me the opportunity to think, and it's like, this is not it. This is not it. Um, Regardless, this is not it. And I had a chance to really, really look around, looking within myself, and I do think God put COVID on me so I could sit my butt down and give
Hmm.
me a chance to really think, because I was in such detail about, okay, when's a good time? When's a good time to make this transition into my new chapters, things like this, and can I do this? What would I need to do to downside? Because there's a lot of business involved with that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
trying to, okay, where can I downsize? Can I start downsizing on some stuff so that'll be all right and everything? And so, um, I do think COVID played a huge part in it as far as getting a chance to stop and think. And I think COVID did that for everybody. If you had COVID,
Mm-hmm.
what nothing you could do but sit down
Right. Right.
and really think about your life. Period. Anyway, so for me, that's what I feel like. Yeah, I feel like that's exactly what it did.
So thinking about again, the big reset, next chapter, what are some things that you want to do to stay healthy and to maintain your mental health post transition?
I think definitely getting back to eating healthy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Stress has a lot of weight on gaining weight. you
Right.
know, Eating what probably shouldn't be eating and things like that. There's some things I'm not gonna give up because I like my ribs. I don't care, but there's certain things just saying. But I definitely want to get back to more healthier eating, activities, things like that. Also, a really good mental health piece is having all my kiddos at holidays. I'm very big on holidays.
Yes.
And so I love when all of my little chickadees and the chickadee pluses and whoever else is, coming with my grandpuppy, everybody, everybody, um, together under one roof. And I
Mhm.
know you guys are older now, and so it may not be, Thanksgiving and Christmas, but one of them you're gonna have to give me. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? So it's like getting back to that, and getting back to those times with Grandma and Grandpa Garland, you know, and even Grandma Shirley Smith, going to get her and bringing her in for the holidays, things like that. But getting back to that, because there's no reason why we can't.
Sure.
There's no reason why we should not. It just doesn't make sense to me. Why are we not? We know the reason why we're not, but why can't we get back there? And so those kind of things are what keeps me going, is what the light at the end of the tunnel is. Light at the end of the tunnel is for that. So that's what I'm really, really excited about doing. Very much so.
It's interesting because when it comes down to holidays, I so Layla is always, she said it was during Christmas time, I think 2, maybe 3 years ago,
Mm-hmm,
and the Christmas tree was up, and she said, Jesse's coming.
mm-hmm,
And that was, probably maybe 4 years ago. And it was one of those boundary moments too. I was like, my sister knows that I come home for the holidays,
mm-hmm.
you know, and knowing that, whether it's a shoulda, coulda, woulda, can't, whatever, but knowing that we can get back to that, I think that's what makes me whole, because I'm huge on holidays too. And having a partner that, is not, and I wouldn't say he's not huge on holidays, he's just creating his own traditions is
Mhm.
worthwhile. Like he wants to build the gingerbread house, and even though he can't stand me, getting creative at 2 o'clock in the morning decorating, like he's going to help, right? He doesn't. He's not gonna like why does Leia have a Christmas ears? Why is that? But it's those moments I'm like, we even though we have these fragments of family, we're able to now make our own and move into new traditions, like
Absolutely.
a hot cocoa bar that we had, or
Mhm.
now he understands the meaning of the whiz. And that's near like if you know me,
Right? Then you know.
it had to take some it had to take some convincing, like, brother, wait a minute, what you mean
Let
you
that
don't know the whiz?
let it go.
What
Just
you mean? What? Huh?
become one. Become
What?
one. That's all you can do.
I was ready to go then. What do you mean you can't? Wait a what? What? We had a whole little marathon. Like, oh, you gonna see what you can't win is all about. But
Right.
I have to say, it's really just embracing each other's traditions or creating new ones. And so I'm excited about that too.
That's that comes into play.
Mhm.
That's what that comes into play. I'm sorry, my phone keeps ringing. Um, where you're bringing in your identity, your history,
Right.
your
Right.
tradition. The other person bringing in theirs. The beautiful sweet spot is where you can merge those together.
Mhm.
You know, learning from each other. Things that may not be comfortable for me because I didn't go through that was comfortable for you, like holidays,
Right.
but then you together. And that's important. That is important for any relationship, whether it's a new relationship, old relationship, it doesn't matter.
Mhm.
Merging those things together to bring to the table is so important, and acknowledging the differences with that other person and letting them have a voice, and do not lose your identity with that. You can't, because before you know it, you're 50 plus years old and you're like, okay, I haven't talked to my cousin who I was very close with through high school and junior
Yeah.
high and all that, and I haven't realized I haven't talked to them 20 years. Why? What happened? So that's where I'm looking forward to those pieces in those the new chapters and things like that. I'm looking forward to those pieces. Absolutely.
How do you feel about love?
I think love is very important. I think love can grow and change, and it's okay for it to grow and change amongst people.
Mhm.
I think that, especially if you've been with somebody for a long time, um, you have different thoughts. You have different life, things like that, or careers and kids and all those kind of things change up things. But communication is so important. I cannot stress how much communication is. Not only communication, getting off your chest what's going on with you or how you're feeling, but also being an active listener to that other person when they're speaking,
Mhm.
what they things like that. That's huge. You don't have to agree. I never said you had to agree with everything.
Mhm.
There's gonna time we'd be like, no, I don't think so. But did you let that person speak? Did you let that person get that piece out? And that is huge. And you can what they say. It's okay to not agree on everything, but you got to let that person speak. You have to let that person get that out. And if you truly love that person, then you're going to have times when you might have to compromise.
Yeah.
You just might. And that's okay too. But you're loving them not just on the physical, but you're loving them on the mental too. And you have to learn what that person's love language is.
Mhm.
So is it touch? Is it gifts? You can go through the things, and you can read on the internet what love languages are, but it's important for you to connect with that person on a level that nobody else can. That's love. That is love. If I'm making a cup of hot chocolate, and I know that person likes hot chocolate too, yeah, I'm gonna make you a cup of hot chocolate. It's not about serving. It's not about me just that, but I'm gonna make it because I know you like it too.
Yeah.
So while I'm in here, hey, you want a cup? Yeah, okay, cool. And I'm mixing 2 cups, and here you go. When whatever kind of activity it could be, you have to be able to be in tune with that person, on a level, like I said, that nobody else can be on. And you have to be able to compromise. You have to be able to communicate, and you have to be able to listen. You have to be able to listen. It's not one-sided where somebody's just talking. It's really listening to that person. Well, again, whether you agree or don't agree with that person. And I'm not saying I'm no relationship expert, but I do know listening is huge.
How do you feel about your kids being in relationships or being in, just exploring that atmosphere when it comes to bringing on a spouse? What advice would you give us?
Wow. Goes back that I hate to repeat myself, but do not lose your identity when
Mm-hmm.
you come into a relationship. You bring yourself to that relationship.
Me?
And
All of me?
everything,
All of
all
me?
of you
Okay.
goes to into that relationship. Well, the bad, the good, the ugly, the oh my God, all that comes together. Another person too. You guys bring it in there. You mix it around, make you some gumbo with it, and then you go from here. It's
Mm-hmm.
truly about communication. But you got to realize that your relationship when you first start versus your relationship 20 years in, 10 years in, it's going to look different. It's going to look different. There's going to be other stresses and things like that you may not have had at the beginning, and that's okay. It's not that I'm saying, oh, you break up the moment you have your first argument. No, because some of those arguments bring about more understanding and more clarity than you had before.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes, there's going to be arguments. What I suggest is that, again, communication, and you listen, and you truly hear and listen to what that person is saying. Let them get it all out first. And then you bring it together and see where you can come to a happy medium. It may not always happen, but you need to at least give it that shot. Another thing is not having other people in your relationship.
Mm.
I cannot stress that enough. You always want to, when you're mad at that person, I'm gonna go talk to my best friend, or I'm gonna go do this, I'm gonna
Right.
go talk to this. And then when you guys are okay, that other person that knows your business is still wondering, oh, well, what happened about this time, or something like that.
Yeah.
You have to be very careful of that. You need to um, stay within your relationship. There's only 2 people in the relationship,
Yeah.
only 2 people.
Yeah.
Everybody else is on the outside circle. And then, as that grows, your immediate family is, your pets, your dogs, your kids, things like that. That's in the immediate circle. Again, everybody else is on the outside of that circle. It's another layer of the circle. Circle support, yes, but don't bring people inside your relationship. It just causes confusion, and it causes misunderstandings, and then you're just festering on it, because sometimes you might not speak about it till later on, 10 years later, 5 years later, whatever, and it's just been festering with you forever.
Yeah. Your relationship is not a community project.
It is not. The outside circle is there to support you guys,
Yes. Yes.
should you ask for some advice.
Mm-hmm.
But your immediate circle is you and your significant other.
What do you think? Where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? What's your wish list?
At peace,
Mm-hmm.
happy, um, enjoying life, definitely retired, um, just doing what I want to do, what I like to do, what I want to do,
Mm-hmm.
um, and finding true love,
Hmm.
which is not necessarily perfect,
Mm-hmm.
but it works for you. You know what I mean? The love is going to work for you. It may not work for
Yeah.
that next person. That person will be like, why are you doing that? Blah, 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 blah. It works for me. And that's all that matters. That's what that is. So becoming a whole person again is not necessarily a new person,
Mm-hmm.
maybe a little bit new and a little bit going back to where I was. it's maybe a mixture of that. But yes, that's what I see in 5 years from now. Yeah, yeah.
You see Essence Festival in 5 years?
I see Essence Festival before 5 years. I don't know why we
Okay.
just cannot seem to connect with those dates, because it goes right up against your sister's birthday. That's what it
This
is.
is true. And we
So,
always in Vegas. I'm like,
and we always in Vegas, so it's like we gotta
gotta make a
like
choice.
plan both of those, or like back to back or something, because that's what it is. It's the dates.
We just gotta take off 2 weeks and just like spend, okay, Vegas, woo woo woo, yay. And then
Yeah.
going to New Orleans. So when I
Yes.
think about New Orleans and the things that we've talked about from a spiritual standpoint, how are you utilizing, not only prayer, but just understanding to keep yourself grounded? Prayer, and if you can say prayer, and what is prayer and?
Prayer. It's prayer and, oh gosh, I just hit something. Hold on. Sorry.
It's okay.
It's going to be prayer and definitely writing stuff down.
Yeah.
If you write stuff down, you'd be amazed at the clarification you get when you write it down. Because
Mm-hmm.
in your head, it's playing like a movie, and it's just
Mm-hmm.
playing over and over again, and you're missing scenes and whatever. It's just playing, right? Fast forwarding, rewinding, whatever. When you actually write that stuff down, um, it becomes more clear, because now you got to think about what you're thinking about and put it on paper. And again, like I said, it may not make sense. You just write it down. Just write it
Right.
down. It don't even have to connect with one another. You can use a whole other page for a different complete thought. But then when you go back, and that's another thing, after you write it down, put it away. Put
Mm.
it away for a minute, and then come back to it. Even if it's the next day or something, or a couple of hours later, come back to it and really think about where your head was. What was your space? Is it the same that you when you started writing it, versus the way you feel right now in a couple of hours or the next day? Or with the outside factors that had you write certain things? If you have a bad day at work, so now you're at home, you're still pissed off,
Right. Right.
or when you had a bad day at home and then you working and got pissed off. What was the underlying factors for what you were writing down and how you were feeling? Um, those, I think those help quite a bit, and it still ties to prayer also. And that's an individual thing, if you believe in God or not believe in God, but you believe in your thoughts, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So writing it down and saying, okay, let me see let me get it out of my head onto some paper so I can look at it from a distance, a certain distance, versus it just playing in your head over and over again.
Yep.
um, Especially situations and um, incidents that have happened stay playing in my head, and I can't get rid of it, because it's visual.
Mm-hmm.
It's the sound. It was the screaming. It's all of the stuff that was happening at that particular instance. It plays in my head, and so I have to write it down. And I write it down, and then I put it away, and then I come back to it.
It's a
So
it's a
that is
clearing.
something.
It's a clearing. It's a release.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And that's what I do has helped me in certain situations. But going to a quiet place, even if it is leaving the house for a little bit and leaving and going down to the park, you which is where I am now, um, it helps. It helps quite a bit.
Last question.
Mhm.
One word. Actually, it's going to be multiple answers, but
Mhm.
one word to describe your 20s, and then another to describe your 30s, another to describe your 40s, another to describe your early 50s. So, what's your first word to describe your 20s?
20s, fun. Damn. Uh,
Okay.
20s was fun. 20s was fun. It was fun.
Okay.
It was fun.
Even with Steven and I there?
Even with y'all there, it was still fun. I still had my moments. It was great. It was great. Great fun.
One word to describe your 30s.
30s was becoming adult. really, I mean, like you are an adult now, and you have things to do and people to take care of. So yes, becoming an adult. Adult. That's my word. Adult.
40s.
40s was discovery. I'm gonna say
Mm.
discovery.
Tell me more.
Uh, so discovering that one, you have now moved into 40s.
Yeah.
Before you knew it, you're like in 40s, like, oh, okay, I'm now 40, 40, whatever. Um, Knowing that you have young children and having to discover that they are depending on you. You have young children that are depending on you. So that discovery of, okay, I need to make sure what is together. Do I have a good job? Do I have, decent paying job that I can stay a long time with,
Right.
not just a, job, but a career. And knowing that I'm going to have to make sure my kids are okay. So that discovery, I think, was the 40s.
And then last word, because you're an infant in the 50s, but last word that you want this decade to bring.
Um, Clarification.
Ooh, that's a good word.
I like that word.
That's a
Clarification.
that's good.
Clear, and then I say clarification or clarify all those avenues, work and personal and whatever those different pieces are.
Mm-hmm.
Get clarification because you know what you want,
Mm-hmm.
and so you need to put it in place. What do you want? You say you want peace of mind. Okay, how are you going to get there? What do
Yeah,
you need to do for peace of mind? The only way you can do that is to clarify what that looks like for you. What it looks like for me, which is different than anybody else. So clarification.
I love that. All right,
Mm.
y'all. Another great episode. Coco Colette, I just thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Thank you.
It was amazing, Mom. And y'all, thank you so much for tuning in. Until next time. Bye.
Bye.
Did you say bye, Mom?
I said bye.
Oh, you did? Okay. Okay.
Bye.